Hello and welcome to the slightly delayed second edition of my King of the Nerds UK vlog. This week's episode is sponsored by my Dr. Horrible goggles. Get your Dr. Horrible goggles today from they don't actually sell the silver ones anymore, so be prepared to buy the green ones and paint them yourself.com. So, first thing I want to address is something I mentioned last week, and that is the notion that despite the show having clearly like 1/5 the budget of the US version, they seem to get all this really very expensive seeming licensed music, and I was questioning, is that where they put the budget? Well, we actually, I found a comment on Reddit from Mark, who on Reddit, his username is Irish Trekkie. They've not verified him yet, by the way. Reddit, King of the Nerds mods, subreddit mods, get on it, verify him. But he said basically that Sky have like a whole sort of a whole heap of music that's just pre-licensed to be used on Sky as much as they feel like. So the editors just sort of dipped into whatever they liked from this sort of back catalogue of music Sky has already paid for use on their channel. So moving on, episode 3, or as I call it, Angry Nerds. Because that's basically what the game they played this week was. So the main challenge was for them both to build castles. Then those castles would be judged on their visual appeal, their structure. How they only have an hour to make them. So if they were complete, and then they would each get turns at trying to knock each other's castles down. It was an interesting challenge for many reasons because. Straight away on team Defenders of Time, Karen immediately was becoming sort of the leader, and they were all very resistant to it, which I think must have been just for personal, why does she get to be leader, why can't I be leader reasons, because all of her ideas were really good. They were just sensible. Let's make the front wall super thick, let's not worry too much about aesthetics, let's just make sure it can't be knocked down. And she was 100% right. And everyone who criticised her sort of taking control either didn't see that at the time or I'm not sure. I really don't know. I think Karen's brilliant. I think Karen is... it's funny because clearly her and Kenny not getting on very well, although oblivious to her. Like she doesn't seem to have any idea that Kenny he seems to find her a little annoying, and she has no idea that's the case, which I'm finding immensely entertaining as a relationship. So what's really interesting about the way that played out was that it was possibly the most one-sided nerd off I've ever seen. Because Karen was absolutely right, to build the castle, not worrying too much about a complex design, but just something that was structurally sound. Because their castle stood tall, not a single block could be knocked down when the other team got to sort of fire projectiles at it. And the other team's castle didn't even gain points for aesthetic because it was such a weak structure that it actually blew down in the wind. They didn't even need to fire balls at it. I've never, in the history of King of the Nerds, and I'm talking all 4 seasons now, not just the current season, that is the most one-sided nerd war, I should say. I think I've been saying nerd off so far. Very sorry. Nerd war. Can't get the two mixed up. I'll be lynched. My favourite moments from the whole process of doing Angry Nerds in the, not nerd off, but the nerd war, both were Yasmin's. But yeah, first of all, dedication, Yasmin, cutting off your nails. Impressed. That is, you've gone to arguably more work than anyone else put into the task, to be honest with you. And also Yasmin falling over while she tried to practice firing the cannon, which looked like this.
You alright?
That's by far favourite moment of the whole episode, was Yasmin falling over. Sorry, Yasmin. I do think you're great, but I can't not play that clip as much as you probably wouldn't want me to. I imagine actually she didn't want that clip to be on the show. I imagine she watched that episode tentatively going, please don't show me falling over, please don't show me falling over. Oh crap, they showed me falling over. Another candidate for favourite moment though was Connie Huck describing them as the extremely valiant independent losers instead of the extremely valiant independent league, I think is what they're called. Team something. Amazing. Connie Huck just throwing insults out there. Like, that was so harsh, Connie. I don't know who. I think someone wrote that for her, and she just did it. And then as soon as she said it, you could see it in her face. Their reaction was like, "Oh, harsh, Connie." Brilliant. So what happened was the vote led to. I believe it was the other team. Defenders of Time selected Mark to go into the Nerd Off, as I imagine just a stronger player to weaken the team. Sensible move. Pretty straightforward decision from Defenders of Time. And Team Evil selected Hannah to go into the Nerd Off, who, you know, their team leader, arguably, I mean, she didn't really. Emily had actually led the task a little more than Hannah, which I suppose is maybe the problem. Maybe that's why they voted her in. It's a shame though, because she seems like a really she seems like a very down to earth sort of nerd. She seems very like you know, happy go lucky, just sort of, you know, quite happy to just sort of enjoy the show, you know. And those are my favorite nerds. My favorite nerds are the ones who are there enjoying it. Like you look at someone like Matt on Team Defenders of Time, and he's there to play a game. Like that's all he cares about. He wants to win, and I don't find that as endearing, if I'm being honest. It makes for great television because he's a very entertaining sort of almost antagonist at this point. But you know, I prefer people who are enjoying themselves and are there to enjoy themselves. People like Mark, the same, and Kenny also. Kenny has shown his propensity for that as well. Although Kenny also is willing to play games, which is also quite fun. So yeah, they chose Hannah and Mark, and I'll be honest with you, the quizmaster just quizzed his way to the top. I mean, it was. She fought hard, bless her, but Mark just out-quizzed her. He's had experience in quizzing, and that showed, and he kicked ass basically. Unfortunately, the Pen of Doom comes back out. Apologies to Robin and Ryan for doing it last week, and apologies to Hannah for doing it now. Sorry to see you go. So yeah, episode 2 ended with Hannah being eliminated by Mark. What was interesting was that what happened after, which is when they returned to sort of Nerdvana, and Mark declared himself the new team leader, having defeated the last one. I'm pretty sure we've had a few instances of that in history where someone's killed a king and then decided that they're king now. That's pretty much what happened. But I mean, what I don't get was Yasmin and Emily didn't seem impressed. But let's be honest, that's the fairest way to do it. You beat the leader, you become the leader. He just beat their team leader. He proved superiority of a sort. And also, let's be honest. I mean, I think at this point we're all sort of thinking that Mark's a very strong contender to win the whole show. I mean, he's proven he's got a very wide range of skills, and he's good at quizzing, which is like most of the nerd offs are all of the nerd offs are gonna be quizzes. So he's gonna be very hard to beat. He's gonna be in the final, I think, no matter what. Plus, he's proven. He's proven to be like a nice person, and people seem to like him. And if they do in this show what they did in the American, for those of you who don't know, in the American show, in the finale, they bring all the nerds back to cast votes. So like, you know, being liked is actually kind of weirdly important in the show, not being a dick and sort of cheating everyone out of it. I mean, if Matt gets it, I would like to see Matt Mark as a finale. I think that would be Matt and Mark would be a great sort of final sort of two. But what's interesting about that, if that happens, is if it does come back, if they do go for the American route and bring back the previous nerds, Matt's making some enemies as the show goes on, as we'll talk about now. So yeah, basically Mark made himself team leader. I guess being team leader is like the Elder Wand from Harry Potter. If you kill the previous owner, you get the leadership's allegiance. So episode 4 was a big debate. I don't have a lot to say about the actual debates themselves, except for that once again, massively surprised by what Emily's capable of. In the first couple episodes, I doubted her skill, but then she came out of that. I think it was the end of episode 2. She came out of that nerd off on top and surprised me, and she, here again, just an epic debate in defense of the Harry Potter books. In the end, surprisingly, because of Emily, really, she tipped the scales in favour, and Team Evil actually won the task this week. I also want to point out that Curtis is proving to be a massively strong player in the game here. Curtis and Emily have both surprised me, actually. Curtis, while not having had to step forward in a nerd off or anything like that, I'm surprised about that now, because he's basically been coaching every nerd off winner, and he coached Kerry to her Doctor Who victory. Clearly, in the debate, so clearly Curtis is a force to be reckoned with, and the fact that no one has attempted to get him out of the competition yet, it surprises me. Well, we'll come to actually someone tried, but for different reasons. We'll get to that in a minute. My favourite moment, there are two. First of all, the saddest silent disco ever with just 3 people.
Hey, let's get some tunes on.
Yes.
This is really neat.
Woo!
And, well, Matt referring to his bandana as a mandana.
Matt, nice bandana.
Bandana. War mode engaged.
Just no. Just no. And that's coming from the guy in the silver painted goggles. Team Evil selected Matt to go into the Nerd Off, and unfortunately Defenders of Time selected Karen, which seems insane to me. She's clearly a massively strong player. There's still loads of team games to go. You need a player like Karen. I guess she just rubbed a couple of people up the wrong way. I know Kerry's reason for voting for her was that she felt that Karen's strengths had already been used. I like very much Kerry, but think about that. You don't know what tasks are coming up next. That's not good logic. I think mostly it's just that she'd rubbed people up the wrong way, if I'm being honest, which is a shame, because again, as I've made very clear in this video, Karen should be listened to. But anyway, it became Karen versus Matt in the Nerd Off. But I want to praise Curtis, because immediately Curtis said, well, what I just said basically, that it was a ridiculous decision to vote Karen into it, and he came to her defence very quickly. And that made me like him even more, which is impressive, because I do quite like Curtis. He's a sleeper, Curtis. I would not, if you told me Curtis makes it to the final, that would not surprise me in the slightest, because again, like Mark, he seems to be both a very strong player and pretty likeable, so it's a good combination in a show like this. Basically, there was a bit of a tactical error by Karen straight away in the heat of the moment when it came to choosing topics, and she didn't choose the obvious weak topic for Matt that would take it out. The topic she'd be weakest at, she could have taken it out by giving it to Matt, then he couldn't have selected it for her, but she made the wrong choice. So she ended up having the Turner Prize as her quickfire round topic, which clearly wasn't something she was very familiar with. And unfortunately, tragically, and I'm so sad to say that this is true, we lost Karen as a result. Bye, Karen. We hardly knew ye. Venomous snake lady. She can't tell you if your snake's well, but she can tell you it's a snake. So yeah, I was very sad to see Karen go. Makes me like Matt less, we're not going to lie, but what I want to talk about before I go is just the tactics. The tactics of Matt. He tried to throw Curtis under the bus so that he would have to face Curtis rather than Karen. First of all, Matt, I don't think you've thought that through. Curtis is a big sleeper. He's never been in a Nerd Off. You don't know what he's capable of, and he's clearly coached several people to victory in Nerd Offs. He's not the sort of person you want to face. There are players on this team that are arguably going to be weaker than Curtis, or at least have more chance to be. He didn't want to face Karen, so he tried to throw Curtis under the bus, and I thought that was mental. That was a strange decision. First of all, you're betraying the one person on the team who clearly can coach you to victory in Nerd Offs going forward, and if he finds out you've done that, he's not going to be so willing to help. But number two, just silly. You'd have had... arguably, Curtis would have done better than Karen in the Nerd Off. Arguably. Well, so very strange. So yeah, we lost Karen, because Matt's tactics didn't work to convince the team otherwise, lying to them and such. He ended up facing Karen as he didn't want anyway. But thankfully, due to that tactical error from Karen's part, he ended up, I say thankfully from his perspective, thankfully Karen made that tactical error right at the beginning and sadly got eliminated. So that's everything for this week on my King of the Nerds UK vlog. This one overran, and it was also late. Very sorry about that. To make up for it, next week I'll do episodes. Literally 1 week from now I'll do 5 and 6, since I was a week late with this one, because by that time episodes 5 and 6 will be out. So yeah, I'll see you in 1 week for more King of the Nerds UK vlog.